For those that don't know what's happening with you and your son, do you want to give us the 101?
Sure. So starting about 2 years old, my ex-wife decided to transition my son to a girl. We were still married at the time, and I told her she couldn't do that. She's a pediatrician, and she forced me out of my house, filed for divorce, and then began to really in earnest try to transition my son. She began to present him to the world as a girl. She changed his name without my consent, with no legal basis to do that. My son eventually, at 3 years old, we're still heading towards divorce, tells me that mommy says I'm a girl. So I took the first iPhone video I'd ever taken. And if you go on YouTube, you can find it. Just search for Mommy Says I'm a Girl. It went everywhere. I'm an Orthodox Christian, so it also went all over Eastern Europe, and Russian television got a hold of it. They were all perplexed. Like, they think of the Texas as a Bible Belt. How could it be? How can this be happening in this religious part of the country? So then we get to trial. The psychology community turned completely against me. All of them lied at trial. So far, I've been able to prove all these psychologists have lied, so all their testimony has been thrown out.
What were they lying about?
Whether my son wants to be a girl or a boy. In the initial psychological investigation, they tried to cover for my wife by saying she wasn't trying to transition my son. And on that basis, that I had made a false accusation that she was trying to transition him, gave me less than standard possession time with my son. So then we go to another trial in 2019 after the school started transitioning my son behind my back. So I'd take my son to school and in boys' clothes, they'd give him a dress, make him use the girls' restroom. And it turns out there's a loophole in all the 50 states around psychology that allows psychologists to not inform parents. Parents actually don't have a legal right to the medical and psychological records of their children. I can explain that later. So they used that law to transition my son without my consent. And I found out about it. I filed grievances with the school district. They said they did not violate my parental rights by transitioning my son without my consent. So we wound up going to a 2019 trial in this little courthouse in Dallas, Texas, and the top experts in the world on transgender science from both sides showed up in this courtroom. Only my experts testified because the depositions that I gave the experts on the other side was so devastating they would never put them in front of a Texas jury. I'll give you an example. Johanna Olson Kennedy, who runs the largest gender clinic in the United States, I directly asked her, how do you justify cutting healthy body parts off of children? And she said, well, if they're causing psychological distress, they're not healthy body parts, so we cut them off. I asked, how many total mastectomies have you referred out for pubescent girls? And she said over 250. So they didn't want to put that in front.
How many hands and feet did they chop off of body dysmorphic individuals?
Body dysmorphic people, yeah, exactly.
Well, Johanna Olson Kennedy also said that if girls end up wanting to have their breasts back, they can just get fake ones when they grow up.
She did.
So, but let's go back to the beginning. I mean, how does this begin? How did your wife decide that your son, in her mind, why is she saying that your son is actually trans?
Well, I first noticed it when she would put him into timeouts and she'd say things like, don't be a boy, the monsters only eat boys, and weird stuff like this. Oh, yeah.
What?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
But why is she doing it?
But she testified in court to this. This is what she's testified. I don't believe this answer, but I'm going to tell you what she swore to in front of the judge at the 2019 trial. She said, first, James asked for a girl's meal in a McDonald's Happy Meal, the girl's toy in a McDonald's Happy Meal. Second, a few days later, he asked for a silver purse at Target that had a multicolored unicorn on it. And James is a painter. He's still a painter. And so he wanted this purse. And at that point, she thought he might be a girl. That's what she testified to.
Because he liked unicorns?
Mm-hmm. I don't believe any of these
don't
answers.
like unicorns?
Yeah.
Well, I used to pretend I was Wonder Woman. I would dance around in my backyard swinging the invisible whip because I wanted to be an actor because I'm creative.
Yes.
And my parents had freaked out and been like, maybe that means, like, no, you're creative. Yes, you can pretend to be anybody, anything you want to be.
Yes, you can. Yeah. And children will conform themselves to their parents' wishes in all sorts of ways. And my son has told court-appointed psychologists, 4 of them, that the reason that here's the other fact that's really important for you and your audience to know. My son only presents as a girl with his mom. He's never presented as a girl with me or anywhere else at church or anywhere. It's only when he's with his mom that he does this. So he's just told them straight up, Mommy doesn't love me if I'm not a girl. He's told them that over and over again.
Told the judge that?
Told the court-appointed psychologist.
What happened?
They all recommended that he be transitioned to a girl, all of them.
Mommy doesn't love me if I'm not a girl. This is what he said.
Yes.
That's like that implicates the mother.
I know. What precipitated me losing my sons, all contact with my sons, last year in July, was my son just straight up told his counselor that he doesn't want to be a girl. He's getting embarrassed wearing dresses at school. She didn't even acknowledge that he said it. So he had an Apple Watch and he recorded himself. He said, "I'm going to record telling you this." And
Your son did?
Yes. And she totally freaked out, threw him out of the office, and initiated a CPS investigation against me, and told the court that I had forced him to say that.
How old is your son now?
10. He was 9 when he said that. Yeah.
Did you force him to do it?
No. He did ask me if he could record. And I said, Texas is a one-party recording state, but our family's not sneaky. So if you're going to record people, you should tell them that you're recording them. So just tell her that you're going to record her.
So where is it? Where's the story currently at now? He's your ex-wife took him to California.
The judge allowed her to move to California. She doesn't have to tell me where my sons are. So all I know is that they're in LA County. The only way for me to see my sons is to arrange for supervised visits in LA County. Okay? And it has to be someone that's acceptable to the court. So the judge will be able to pick who that is. No matter who I pick, they won't let me do it. She doesn't have to tell me any medical procedures that she's doing. She doesn't have to tell me where they go to school. I'm actually prohibited from even knowing those things.
Wow.
Yeah. So I haven't seen them in about 1 year and 6 months now.
Why both kids? Like so 2 kids, you said one's 10 and then one
They're
is...
both 10. They're twins. Yep.
And
they're not identical.
And so she's saying one is and one is not trans?
Yeah, and this is something that she did with her daughters. So if you want to know, like when I realized I was in trouble, it was during her pregnancy. We made a decision to have children. We're about 2.5 years into the marriage, and I discover everything she told me about her daughters was a lie. So she had told me that her daughters were adopted. Well, her younger daughter was adopted from her brother, who's a 3-time convicted felon in California, had to flee the state because if he gets convicted again, he'll get life.
Oh.
Who exposed this child to methamphetamine in the womb and when she was a newborn, and had all these developmental problems. So I didn't know that. I probably would have still married Anne, knowing that, right? Because it's good to adopt orphans like that. I'm all for that. But her other daughter was from a sperm donor, and I would not have married her had I known that.
Why not?
So-
Why not?
Well, it would be like she wants to have kids without a man, without a father.
Interesting.
Yeah, and both of the girls, I didn't know this either. Both Anne's sister is a lesbian, and both of these girls had been raised only around women. Like I remember going out and running, foot races with the girls, because she basically abandoned her girls to me. So like I am the one who had to take them to school, do all their homework. Everything, all the chores in the house. She worked 80 hours a week at her practice, right? And so I got these girls that I had to raise. So we go out and run foot races and stuff like that, and they just couldn't believe that I was winning. Like they didn't know like boys can run faster than girls generally.
Wow.
They just had not been around any men. And Anne thought that was actually very funny that they were learning that and didn't know that. But they were 10 years old and is just discovering that for the first time.
Sounds a lot like that book that we bring up periodically, the one that's in front of you.
Yeah.
Genderqueer.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you read that one?
I have not read it.
I
You should have heard about
I
it.
bought a copy of that and
And you
read
read
it
it?
myself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a story of how this woman is not. She says she's non-binary, but it's an abuse story.
Yeah.
She couldn't read till she was 12.
Yep.
Yeah.
She had to use old crusted pads with blood flaking off, and she
Wow.
smelled so bad because of it. The counselor called her in and said, "You have a hygiene problem." So it's no wonder she ends up,
Of course.
distressed.
Well, and the book ends like the most triumphant part of the book is when she's deciding that she's going to come out to her middle school class
Yeah,
and like tell all of her students that she's
which is
non-binary, which is like, why does anyone need to do that?
Why
Yes.
these people want to be around children so much is odd.
It's odd and sort of distressing. Yeah.
But so you're. I remember when the story first broke about the court case and the videos with your son and all that stuff.
Yep.
But your son's 10 now. I mean, 10-year-olds have a decent amount of lucidity.
Yes.
So is he resisting? Is he rejecting this? Is he complaining about it?
Well, remember the last time I saw him was when he resisted, and they took him away from me permanently and gave me supervised visitation. I get less visitation than convicted pedophiles in Texas.
You know what's crazy too,
know?
though, is early on in the story, I remember reading in the Federalist, there was a woman who was the mom of some friends of your son, who said that when he was over at her house, he wanted to wear boy clothes, and she like gave him boy clothes,
Yes.
and he just wanted to do rough and tumble boy things.
That's his normal state.
And her testimony, she was not allowed to testify to that.
No,
in
she
court.
wasn't.
They wouldn't let her.
Why would they
speak
not?
her piece?
Why?
I don't know why they wouldn't let her do it, but they wouldn't
maybe Jeff
accept
does.
her. Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.